Welcome into Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. Got a big show ahead as we have plenty of news and rumors to get to. But before we do that, it's trivia time on the show today as we want you to chime in and find out at the end of today's show, which college did Seahawks legend Steve Largent go to? Get your answers in now. We'll tell you at the end what that is in case you don't know. But go ahead, drop us a comment, and see if you can figure it out before the video's over. Let's start out with Trent McDuffie, a familiar name to most Seahawk fans as he's playing just down the road at the University of Washington, and he's one of the top prospects in the upcoming NFL draft. And a new mock draft from USA Today has Seattle drafting McDuffie at number 9 overall. McDuffie, a very good player at his time at Washington, 3-year starter, and he's getting comparisons to the likes of Packers cornerback Jair Alexander, who had a very good first few seasons there with Green Bay, and those comparisons look pretty good for a guy that was a third-team All-American this past season. Here's more on McDuffie, as Tim Weaver of Seahawks Wire was the one who made the pick for the USA Today in this mock, and he had to say on McDuffie, the Seahawks need another corner to start alongside last year's promising rookie Trey Brown and their returning nickel standout Justin Coleman. At 5'11", 193 pounds, McDuffie isn't as large or as long as Ahmad Gardner. More from Weaver. He says, however, he's a naturally gifted defender whose physicality will appeal to head coach Pete Carroll. So will his experience playing the kind of scheme new defensive coordinator Clint Hurt will employ. So I would bet this is a pretty popular pick for Seahawk fans if they can get Trent McDuffie to stay in town. But I want to hear directly from you, Seahawk fans. Tell us what you guys think. Here's your chance to weigh in. Drop us a comment. Type D for draft. Type P for pass if you want to see Seattle draft Trent McDuffie with that number 9 overall pick. Here's your chance to tell us and sound off. We'll have the ad break coming up in just a few moments. While the ad's playing, get your votes in. Type D for draft or P for pass. Now, look, McDuffie, very fine player, and I think that he can have a bright future in the National Football League. But when you look at all the team needs that's going on with this Seahawks team, cornerback for me is not priority A or B with this group. I think that you need to look at the offensive tackle. You need to look at the quarterback spots before you even consider the cornerback position. For me, that's not the top need. Is it a need for Seattle? Absolutely it is. Look at this depth chart right now. You see Trey Brown had a good season last year, but they need another starting cornerback to go alongside Brown there and really develop. You have two really great safeties with Diggs and Adams there, but there's still a hole with that other cornerback spot. So McDuffie, a very good player last year, didn't have any interceptions, but the numbers on him were good elsewhere as he just didn't allow guys to get open very often. Less than 300 yards receiving he gave up last year. So although he might not get the interceptions, he's not allowing guys to get big plays on the receiving end. So McDuffie good, but I would take other options before I would look at McDuffie at that number 9 spot. Seahawks Today is brought to you by our friends at Fanatics, and they got some great gear. You know, we mentioned Steve Largent in our trivia question today, and so I figured that while we have Steve Largent on your mind, why don't you get some of the gear of the Largent days in Seattle? Some throwback gear is available from our friends at Fanatics, and you can go to chatsports.com/Seahawks Today to get your hands on some of this great Seahawks apparel. This is stuff that has not aged, folks. It looks just as good as the stuff the Seahawks are wearing right now. The way that you get your hands on this, chatsports.com/Seahawks gear. Tommy Bahama gear as well. Maybe you're getting ready for that summer vacation to Hawaii and want to have some Seahawks swag down on the beach. Here's your chance to do so. Chatsports.com/Seahawks gear. Drew Lock is right now the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks if the season began today. And we heard from Noah Fant for the first time as a member of the Seattle Seahawks who came along with Drew Lock in the Russell Wilson trade, his thoughts on Drew Lock, who he would know as good as anybody. They came to Denver together. Now they follow each other to Seattle. Here's more from Fant, what he had to say. I think he has all the opportunity and all the talent in the world to get it done and be that franchise guy. I know he's excited to get in and get to work and meet all the guys. I think it'll be a really good opportunity for him. Now, nice words from Fant there, and you would expect him to say that about a guy that's been his teammate for a while and moving with him to Seattle, same draft class and all. But here's the deal. Drew Lock is a stopgap quarterback. He is not the long-term solution for the Seattle Seahawks at this point in time. He very well may start this year, but I would be surprised if Seattle doesn't look to bring in another quarterback to compete with Drew Lock, whether that's through the draft or through free agency. We know Pete Carroll has wanted to bring in Geno Smith, and he's made that known even though there's not a deal in place there. But Drew Lock, you look at the numbers. The last 3 seasons that he had in Denver alongside Noah Fant. Fant's numbers, pretty good with what he was able to put together with those 4 touchdowns last year, over 600 yards receiving. Not bad for Fant, and you can see that there was improvement about every year with Noah Fant. Drew Lock, you can't say the same thing. His rookie season was okay, not great. Second season, the last time that he had a full campaign under his belt was abysmal for Drew Lock with 15 interceptions and a less than 58% completion rate. And last year wasn't great when he had to fill in for Teddy Bridgewater after Bridgewater got hurt. So, I like Noah Fant. I think that he's going to get his 5th-year option picked up, but Drew Lock needs some competition in Seattle as far as I'm concerned. What do you guys think? Drew Lock, the Week 1 quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. Are you buying that or are you selling it? Here's your chance to weigh in and tell us what you guys think. Type B for buy, type S for sell if you think Drew Lock is that dude come Week 1 for the Seattle Seahawks. Let us know in the comments below. Uchenna Nwosu, one of the more popular sightings for the Seahawks this offseason. 2-year deal, $19 million, and just under 11 of it guaranteed. He spoke for the first time publicly as a member of the Seahawks this week, and a big fan of Seattle as a whole, not just the city of Seattle, but he enjoys all the views and the trees. Maybe he's going to find Sasquatch while he's out in Seattle as well. But nonetheless, you look at Uchenna Nwosu, this was a nice value find for the Seahawks. And here's what he had to say when it comes to being a part of this team and this scheme going forward, which seems like a good fit for him after a year in Los Angeles working with Brandon Staley. He said, just being able to go into another year, being in the same scheme, similar verbiage, similar tasks, similar responsibilities, allows me to be myself, allows me to unlock my true potential, what I could do. It was on display last season, and I think it will be on more display this year. So a high praise there. Excitement from Uchenna Nwosu, as you can see, about coming to Seattle. We'll have more on Nwosu in just a moment. But before we do, I got to make sure that you are an award-winning subscriber to Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. We have videos each and every day as we give you all the latest Seahawks news and rumors right in your inbox. The easiest way to do so, subscribe to the channel. Hit that red sub button, or you can go to youtube.com/SeahawksTV to see the latest Seahawk videos and make sure those notifications are turned on as well. The numbers on Nwosu this past season, 5 sacks, and he was able to pick up 2 forced fumbles and a fumble recovery. A good year for him and a good find for the Seahawks. But even with that being said, I think this team still needs another edge rusher. Nwosu was a solid find, but I think that they're going to turn to the draft. In fact, they have to turn to the draft. And the good news is for the Seahawks, that this draft, I personally think, has the best edge rushers the NFL draft has ever seen from top to bottom. So you look at the front for Seattle, that 3-4 front. And Nwosu going to play that outside linebacker spot, be an edge there. But Darrell Taylor, not so hot. That the others on that defensive line, they could use a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau, or if they can get their hands maybe even in the second round like we talked about in our draft video earlier this week on Logan Hall, whatever it may be, just another edge rusher would go a long ways for this edge front for the Seattle Seahawks there. But I do like Nwosu, and he should be a lot of fun this next season in Seattle. A good find by John Schneider and Pete Carroll and company there. Before we go, and in today's show, we asked you at the beginning of the show, where did Steve Largent, the Seahawks legend and Pro Football Hall of Famer, go to college? And here is the answer to that question. It is the University of Tulsa. That is where he went. Had a great career with Seattle, but it all started in T-Town with the Golden Hurricane. Tulsa's my hometown, too. So I always have a soft spot for Steve Largent. So there you have it. That's the answer to our question. Thanks for playing along and chiming in on the comments. Hope you got it right. If not, we'll have another question for you here soon. Thanks for joining us.